Hey everyone, and welcome to Screams After Midnight. I am Peter, that is Tim, and we talk about horror movies. And this week's movie is our first cinema release of 2017. It's actually the first 2017 movie in general that I've seen, which makes sense because we're only a couple of weeks into the year. And it is The Bye Bye Man. Now, if you're familiar with, if you're used to like movie timings and schedules, you'll know that January, February is usually pretty bad for movies. Even more so for horror movies. You get the odd gem, but for the most part, the ones that get pumped out in January, February tend to be the Z-grade schlock that no one wants. So much to my surprise, I really like this movie.
What? No way. You are joking.
I am joking.
Okay, I was like, what the hell happened for a second?
No, this was dreadful. And if it wasn't for the fact that we watched It Watches last week, which is somehow worse than this. That said, though, at least with that, it was at home and I could do other things. I could take my mind off it. I was the only person in the room for this. No one else was at my showing. It was just me.
Oh, well, you should actually consider yourself lucky because I had maybe like the most teen-filled theater that I've had in a long time, and not that there was a lot that could make this movie much worse, but there was so much like talking, cell phone lights. One group of kids literally brought in their skateboards and basketballs, and if you think that they weren't messing around with those, that you wouldn't hear that through the movie, you'd be wrong, because like every 15-20 minutes you'd hear a skateboard like roll or a basketball dribble, and it's like, it was so frustrating.
I mean, I've never done this, but I've never had that extreme level of just audacity of the rest of the audience. I would probably have to go and speak to like an employee and be like, hey, why did you let kids in with basketballs and skateboards? Are you completely stupid, you tit?
And the thing is, so this was it wasn't playing at the usual theater that we like to go to. It's a little more upscale, a little nicer.
You went to the scum theater. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, it wasn't playing at the nicer one, so we did have to go to the one that's like in a mall.
To be fair, I have to respect the theater's decision not to show this movie.
Oh yeah,
they have standards. Yeah. I like that. That's good.
But if it was like I don't know, I feel like if it was one group of people, maybe might have shushed them or something. Although I did shush someone once at a movie and I felt bad about it afterwards. But the problem is it was coming from like everywhere. It's like there are people behind me talking, there are people in front of me on their phones. It was just like surround sound.
Do you know, it really has to be said that the worst theater audiences tend, and this is not always of course, but the worst experiences I've ever had have all been horror movies. And it's because you get, now obviously if you're in a room full of horror fans it's fine because you're all into it. But if you get in the room with a bunch of teenagers at a horror movie and they all want to prove that they can't be scared, they can legitimately ruin the movie. It is awful.
Oh yeah, there's a ton of that. And
this is a weird case though, where the movie's terrible, so it doesn't ruin the movie per se. It's just annoying in and of itself. But
but I think there's a certain type of movie, and it's this type of movie that attracts these people to it. Like I saw,
because they have no taste. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like there aren't like a bunch of teens that saw the trailer for The Witch and are like, oh, I'm gonna go there and like yell stuff out. Other movies, like those more like kind of deep cut ones, I feel like you're a lot safer at.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I went during the day on a Tuesday, so obviously it was going to be quiet, but it was dead. It was just me in one of the smallest rooms. I think it seats maybe about 120 people.
Yeah. And
it was just me. And if anyone had walked in, I know we've not even spoken about the movie yet. We're getting to that. Don't worry. I'm describing my experience outside of the movie here. Not only was it empty, I was so out of this movie by about the halfway point that if anyone walked in, they'd have seen how much I hated it because of the way I was sitting. because there was no one else there, I was quite happily just kind of been like, just like staring at the screen, like, oh god, I hate it so much. Anyway, bye man. We will start spoiler free, even though when it's a bad movie, we sometimes don't bother with spoiler free sections. I think it's worth it a little bit since it is a new release in the movies, and for some reason you might actually decide to go see it.
Don't do it, but
don't do it.
Which I hesitate to say this because I feel like it's too easy of a joke, and I feel like this is probably I haven't read any reviews online, but I'm assuming they all start with this headline, which is don't think it, don't say it. Dot. Yeah.
Don't see it. Yeah, very good.
As one of the first thoughts in my head, I'm like, come on, everyone has to be saying that, right? Or I would assume every review for that.
Yeah, it's kind of like how when the Amazing Spider-Man came out, all the reviews were like, the not so amazing Spider-Man. Oh
yeah.
I see what you did there. That was witty.
Yeah. Oh, at the same time, I do have to think, like, man, like, are they purposefully setting themselves up for that headline? If you know you have that crappy of a movie, like, you can't have a repeated mantra that is like so easy for fodder. But
oh dear. So what's this movie about? It's about a ghost demon presence that comes, and once you've read his name, which is the Bye Man, he will keep coming and coming and mess with your head until bad things happen. And that's pretty much it. We have an annoying group of college kids. In fact, you know what? I take that back. Well, they are annoying, but they're not annoying because they're annoying characters. They're annoying because they're not characters. And they're terrible actors. They're all terrible actors.
I feel like they were trying so hard to give the main character a personality by his t-shirts. Every scene he had a new t-shirt on, it was like the most cliche, like, college kid band trying to seem punk shirt. Like, yeah, like, oh, the Dead Kennedys and Joy Division. It's like, oh wow, like, this guy must be really deep. He has all these band shirts. Yes.
Elliot being the kid in question. Yeah, kids were annoying, scares were really generic. It was, they walk into a room, oh, a light flickered, oh, I've never seen that in a horror movie before. Or, like, something will be in front, like, or they'll do the thing where something behind in the background becomes something else and you didn't realise it was there. And the thing is, I typically like someone's in the room with you shots when there's someone in the background. When that's done well, I really love it. Every time they try to do it in this movie, it annoyed me.
Oh yeah.
It was like the cinematographer didn't know how to light for a horror movie. Everything was just really bright and obvious.
It's everything. It's there's such a difference between, like, something can so easily feel cheap versus earned. Like, we've talked about jump scares and stuff before, and when done right, they can actually be, like, well earned and effective. But here everything just feels cheap and unwarranted. And it's such a slog, just like getting through. You could have a checklist of, like, every cliche that they throw in here.
So it's funny, Tim. I got to a point in this movie where I realised, right, I really hate this. This is depressing me. I despise this movie.
About 2 minutes in.
Actually, no. When we get to spoilers, I do actually have some positive things to say about the opening scene.
Actually, I'll agree with you that actually I was a little hopeful, but
yeah. The opening scene's actually got some nice things about it, and I'll explain them that more in detail in the spoilers. But I actually like the opening scene for the most part. But anyway, a chunk into the movie, I was like, I hate this. I'm really depressed. I want this to be over. And because I was on my own, normally I would never even glance at my phone in a theater, but I was on my own. There was no one else there, so whatever.
I think that's fair, as long as either if you're the only one there, or if there is such a big separation that there's no chance they. And
don't get me wrong, when I say I pulled out my phone, it wasn't to do stuff. I wasn't going to sit and do things on my phone to not pay attention to the movie. I just wanted to check the time. I wanted to know how much was left. That's all I wanted.
Okay.
Right. I just wanted to glance at the time, and I'm good. I'll even just put my phone on. I turn my phone off when the movie comes on. Too. Because sometimes I have alarms set that I didn't remember were set to repeat and things, so I just turn it off.
I don't want to risk the chance at all.
Yeah, I'm really thoughtful in that sense.
Yeah.
That sounded really arrogant. I'm really thoughtful. really
Well, no, I mean, maybe it is a little arrogant, but I think that's fair because like the gall of some people to very blatantly not even care and take it out like full brightness, like it just not
Oh,
even like
oh god, yeah. See, even if I've had to check the time before for some reason in a movie, I'll make sure my dim, like the brightness is set down to as low as possible, so it's causing as little as of an illumination.
kind of like I'll like keep it in my pocket if I
Yeah.
have to, kind of like check it without even
Yeah, you
taking
hug it. You hug the phone. Anyway, so I checked the time to see how long was left because I thought, oh, I've been here for a while now. Hopefully, it's maybe we're getting into the last act or something. There was over an hour left. The movie is like 95 minutes long.
Oh god.
Yeah, it was funny because obviously the acting from all the leads, the three main leads, and then there's like a sort of fourth kind of one. The acting from all of them is absolutely shockingly bad. It is despicable. They cast people who cannot act.
Specifically, the female lead, Sasha.
Sasha, yeah.
She was
Who, by the way,
horrendous.
at the time of recording, does not have an image on IMDb.
Oh.
Take that for what you will.
Yeah, she was so bad. Everything was the same like level. Like all of her delivery, she'd be like, "You sold us a really weird house. Hey, there's some strange things going on. So you believe it now?" Like, I could not believe how bad it was.
Yeah, I think all the teen college kids, all of them are terrible. And it's funny because they actually have some known actors in smaller roles. Like one point, Carrie-Anne Moss shows up as a cop, and I'm like, you must be so depressed being in this movie with these actors who can't even deliver lines. There's one of the random cops that just like talks to her at one point also had really bad delivery. And like I was like, how do you feel acting off this guy? You were in The Matrix, and that did so well. It's not even that Carrie-Anne Moss is like an amazing actor. She's fine, but she's been in proper movies. She's been in, she was in Jessica Jones last year or 2 years ago.
Yeah, I would imagine that she's not hard up for work. She can get parts.
And I didn't realize it when I watched it because I don't think I've seen what she looks like now. But Faye Dunaway is actually in the movie for a small part as well.
That's strange.
Yeah, I'm like, you're like a legend. Why are you in this? And then the Bye Bye Man is played by Doug Jones, who I guess just takes any of the work that he can get with makeup and stuff.
Yeah, that was especially hard for me.
Oh,
my boy.
You want a skinny monster? I'm free.
Yeah.
I'm free.
Now, we should let people know if they're interested in like what the Bye Bye Man is, like where he comes from, what his powers are. Don't bother.
No.
You do. Nothing is explained.
Tim, not only does none of this stuff get remotely explained, not a single character even asks.
Oh no! Yeah.
No one asks.
And like we talked about before, like I think we have varying levels of it depending on the movie, but for the most part in general, we usually like a little bit of mystery.
Oh yeah.
But you can't just have like balls out like what is going on, especially when they keep dropping stuff. Like there's repeated imagery throughout the movie, and it's like, all right, why? What is this associated with?
There's like 3 different things that are associated with them. There's a train, some coins, and something else.
Yeah.
And because it's so specific, like why coins, why a train, you're thinking, all right, this will play into his backstory. Maybe we'll find out where he came from, or
maybe it has something to do with like his weakness or something, or you need to, I don't know, throw a coin on a train.
And it wouldn't have fixed the movie. It'd still been terrible. But yeah, it was weird. Like they didn't even attempt to answer anything. There's also some really, really weird cuts in the movie as well. Like some scenes ended in really weird places. One that really got to me is basically once they're affected by the Bye Bye Man, they all start like thinking, they all start seeing different things, and they all start getting paranoid about each other. And the 2 guys,
which is not like a horrible concept, I think that.
Oh no, as an idea, it's fine.
Yeah,
but in one scene at the dinner table, the 2 guys start like arguing and shouting at each other over jealousy, and they're getting closer together, and it doesn't feel like it's diffused at all. It looks like they're about to start fighting, and it cuts to a scene with one of the guys holding his hand over the girl's head, saying, "Oh, you feel a bit warm," and it cuts to this like scene checking on how she feels without ending the previous scene. It just cuts.
And yeah, that's weird. The one thing got me, and this got a huge laugh in my theater. At one point, it just like cuts to three naked people, like on a train track for like a brief second.
For no reason.
Absolutely no reason.
Symbolism.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure whoever wrote it or something has some point they want to make. But
Yeah. The ending's stupid. Characters make stupid choices. Nothing scary. Nothing. There's some good filmmaking in the opening scene, and then it goes away. Like I don't know. Did someone else come in and direct that, and then that was it. Bye bye. I didn't even mean that.
There actually were some legit scenes that made me laugh, like unintentionally.
Oh yeah.
Like there's a couple of lines, we'll get into spoilers, but there's like, at least 3 or 4 times where like I audibly like could not help but laugh. Really stupid stuff. This isn't really a spoiler, but like at one point he's searching for these files and on a computer, and he finds them, and they're in like the guy's the file. It's like the guy's name and then 69.
See before you get to what you're about to say,
Okay.
that's why I talk about this search on a computer. You see him type into it's not Google, because why pay for Google to be in the movie? He types into their made up search engine, the Bye Bye Man, and zero results.
Yeah.
What?
Even if it doesn't match Bye Bye Man, you're still gonna get like results for songs that start with Bye Bye or something that like you never get zero results. It will always be something.
Yeah. And even when he goes to the library database specifically and searches, he still gets zero results.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, there'll be books with Bye or Man in the title that'll show up. That's not how search engines work. You wouldn't just get zero. These words appear in things, you idiots.
Yeah, that really bugged me as well. But then, when he searches the internal database or he searches something else, he finds it, and it's under like a file 69, which is it's a juvenile thing to laugh at the number 69, but still, it's like, why even put that there if you want your movie to be taken seriously?
Well, there's a reason for it, Tim. Because the flashback at the start's in 1969. It was written in that year.
I didn't notice that in the flashback.
It wasn't just a random, let's put 69 on this.
I still think that's like weird. Like again, my theater full of teens, that got a huge laugh from the audience, and
that's weird. That's stupid.
Yeah.
Immature is what that is.
But it's just, I don't know. It just, I think it's like such a thing though. Like it is very juvenile, but you see 69 and it's kind of like, usually for most people, I think it's the first thing that pops in their head. So it's like, why even?
Honestly, unsure.
Risk it?
I'm pretty sure 19 was probably in front of it, and it wouldn't.
Not in the computer file. It wasn't.
Maybe not. But that's why it says 69, because it's from that year.
All right. At least there is a reason.
Okay. Let's go into spoilers. I'm done dancing around things here. So full spoilers from this point on for the Bye Bye Man. Alright, so like I said, opening scene actually had some promise. We start in 1969 and we see a guy get out of a car. His acting's not great, but he goes up to the door, speaks to whoever lives there and says, Did you tell anyone about the name? Did you tell anyone about the name? And she's like, yeah, I told, blah, 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 my husband. He thought it was funny, and that's that. He's like, oh, I'm so sorry, I have to do this. And he walks back to the car and pulls out his shotgun, and he starts hunting them down. Now, the reason why I like this, for the most part, because like I said, the acting wasn't especially good, was it was all done in one shot. The camera follows him up to the door, then comes back with him, shotgun out, follows him in, and then once he fires the first couple of shots, it cuts to like this sort of imagery of a train moving. And then when it comes back, it continues inside the house, and again, it's one shot of him shooting down at the husband, then walking through the other place. And then there's another great one shot of him walking across the street to another house because he realizes one of the neighbors has been told about this.
That's what I thought was what kind of stood out to me is when he's walking across the street and the camera's just following him, and then it kind of stays like on the opposite side of the street, but you see him kind of keep continuing it, and it looks
it had
pretty
style.
cool.
And what was good about it is it was actually kind of, it was bordering on tense, really kind of tense, and it was in broad daylight, which made it really kind of impressive that it was being tense in this. I was like, oh, maybe this movie's quite good. This shows some skill. This shows some decision making. Someone's thought about this and done this in a really engrossing way.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, everything I just said completely goes away for the entirety of the rest of the movie.
It almost feels like they got someone else to direct like that
It really
little
does.
opening segment.
It does. It feels like someone else directed that because the rest of the movie shows none of this thought or process or skill. Yeah. We're introduced to our three main characters, Elliot, John, and Sasha. Elliot and Sasha are a couple, and John is Elliot's best friend. They are going to rent a house together, so they rent in this old house and pull out all the old stuff out of the basement that was in there, all the old furniture. And it's it's the bedside like table that has the Bye Bye Man's name written in it in the drawer that they find at one point. And they have a house party to like welcome everyone, for everyone to come over and party. To which Elliot's big brother, Virgil, brings his wife and small child to this college party, which I thought was strange.
Yeah.
And then they try to give him some sort of characterization by having him speak to his brother about. His brother's like, "Oh, you should enjoy college. Yeah, that girl Sasha, you're with and you seem to love and care about. Yeah, you should be sowing your wild oats. I never did that." And he's like, "No, but this is what I want. I want to have the family." And I was like, do you know what it feels like? And this goes for a lot of the dialogue.
That's it.
It feels like it was written by someone who doesn't understand how to write a script.
Yeah.
And the dialogue specifically, the reason why I say that is because there's a lot of phrases that feel very extraneous, like they have no purpose. They're just added on there to make it feel like they've got more to say when there's nothing to say. Like I'm trying to think of examples. Later on when John's with Kim, who's the seance girl who comes in and tries to do a seance, and they're in a car and she says something and he responds with, "Oh yeah, definitely, that's how it feels," or it came off as really unnatural. That was the line of dialogue that really bugged me. And
I think like John's John's stuff especially always felt kind of weird, and like I don't know if at some point if it was like him being affected by the Bye Bye Man, but I don't know, his stuff especially like felt like it was I don't know, just like almost kind of an afterthought. Like they're like, "Oh hey, we hired like this hunky cool best friend guy, and oh crap, we got to give them lines."
Well, you say that, but they did set up they foreshadowed there would be like a jealous love triangle thing, which, by the way, when your ghost entity, his entire plan is to make a love triangle, you've lost me.
Well, I felt like that was weird too, though. 'Cause I wasn't sure if that if that was completely unfounded, because when they're dancing in the beginning, like that was pretty, like if I saw someone dancing like that, I would assume that they are not only a couple but like very active and attracted to each other. And that scene where like she like almost falls and he grabs her and like they look at each other, like I feel like there's definitely something going on there before the Bye Bye Man.
You may be right. I still don't care.
Oh no, I don't care at all.
I still don't want it. Go away. Oh dear. And things just happen. Like we just cut like so Sasha hears some noises, and I actually thought she was going to be the main character because she's the first one who hears anything going on, and usually it's the main character who does that.
Yeah. And
Elliot's the skeptical one, and after the party, they bring over Kim to she knows her from class, and they bring her over to do a seance, and they're sort of debating like if she's like got any sort of psychic powers or anything like that, and it just cuts to a seance. It just cuts to them around the table with, and it's just things just. I like
happen. How I feel like in these like these bad horror movies, like someone always knows a psychic.
Oh like, yeah, always.
Like everyone has you have the friend that's kind of funny, and then the friend that's like all very methodical and very businesslike, and then the friend that's a psychic. That's how everyone hangs out with each other.
Yeah, I think It's hard to like go. I mean, there's some stuff that I want to make fun of, but it's hard to go through it and make fun of things like sort of in order like this because so much of the problem is poor editing, poor script writing, poor dialogue, poor acting, extremely poor acting. In fact, you don't believe a word that's coming out of anyone's mouths.
Oh.
And they're just not characters. They're like, it's like they went for college kids, but they can't even give us stereotypes. They can't even give us archetypes. They just give us blank slates.
Yeah.
It's weird. Like I don't know what any of these characters aren't really into anything. They don't really have any sort of driving force. It's
like,
weird.
What are they studying? How are they friends? You know, like
We can't know how the two guys are friends because they say that they played sports together when they were kids, but that's about it.
And there was something like was the main kid? They said his parents died in a car crash or something?
Yeah, there was a crash and the parents died. Which, by the way, just they stopped mentioning. Like that's brought up a couple of times. They mention it in the seance, which is near the start of the movie, and then it's never brought up again.
Yeah.
Never.
Nope.
Has no bearing on anything. I want to talk about when stuff starts going down, which by the way happens almost instantly after he says it out loud. He says the bye bye man, and that infects everyone who hears it because they all know it now, and that's it comes after all of them. Anyone who hears it says it or is in the presence of it.
Now I kind of want to know what your reaction was to this scene when they're at the party. Elliot's niece, she's kind of wandering around. She goes upstairs, she finds those coins, and they kind of live in this attic room, and there are these like small doors, and she opens one, and then on the other side of it, on the other side of the room, the opposite door opens, and a weird, strange demon head pops out.
Honestly, my only thought when this happened is, what's that? Because I didn't understand what it was meant to be. It confused me. It's like a weird mess of CG. Because that's the thing, it is CG, and when we see it properly, it's like a weird demon hound type thing that the Bye Bye Man has.
I do like the idea of like a horror movie villain with like a pet dog, but in this movie is just wasted. And the CGI was horrible.
CGI was horrible. The Bye Bye Man himself is wasted. They've got this cloak on the wall in the bedroom that is perfectly sort of shaped like his cloak. And multiple times they do this thing where he sort of walks forward and it's the cloak and he appears inside it kind of thing. They do that repeatedly. Like the director clearly liked that shot because they did it like 5 times. Imagine
like it's the same scare. It's like the second time it's like, didn't you do this already? Like what? At that point, just take your coat off the wall. If it keeps doing it. Yeah,
there's a lot of other bad like horror movie cliche things like so yeah, the first time that Sasha hears the noise, they're in the bedroom and they've got a bathroom sort of inside the bedroom kind of thing. The door's inside the right. And it's instead of a door, it's got like the beads that come down instead. So Elliot's went into the bathroom and she hears like a noise, something creeps her out. And she hears something outside the main door of the bedroom, and she says repeatedly, and she was turned around, so she thinks that maybe Elliot outside, and she says repeatedly, Elliot, is that you? Elliot, that's not funny. I'm getting scared. Elliot. And then there's like a good 10-second pause, and I'm like, as I was watching it, I sat there going, he's still in the bath. He's just going to walk out and be like, what's going on? Even though it's a ridiculous amount of time. Like, this is like a good minute's passed that would... It's there to legitimize the scare, but as soon as he walks out, it's like, why didn't you just say something? Why didn't you... The scare only works because you're having a character for some reason not respond when he would respond.
If someone calls out your name, especially if they sound like worried or panicked, you're not like, oh, I should go see what's up by like quietly sneaking behind them and then like waiting for them to turn around. Like, no, you'd be like, yeah, what? Okay, coming.
Right, speaking of that scene, Elliot, apparently, I think it was Elliot. Maybe it was John who left a note. I don't know. I think it was Elliot. But leaves a note on our bed, and it's supposed to be like a little rhyming sort of note that's like, "Oh, I'm glad we've moved in together. You're my flower," or whatever. However, instead of just writing it, they have prepared it like a ransom note that you would get from a kidnapper. It's to cut out words from the magazines kind of thing. And she's like, oh, he's left me a note, and she's reading it all lovingly, like she's really happy about it, and she thinks it's sweet, and I'm like, this is psychotic. Run away from him now.
He will chop you up.
This is
eventually.
creepy. But yeah, so almost immediately stuff starts happening. They start hearing noises, they see certain weird things. They start getting part, like, he sees John flirting with her, and he says weird things to her that's like really coming on to her. They hear other noises, they see random things. It's just an excuse for lots of stupid horror movie things that aren't scary, make no sense. So Elliot eventually starts to research. He tries to look this thing up. And that gets us to the library where he gets the notes and all that. And they only mention, he eventually finds something because he, instead of searching for Bye Bye Man, he searches for Don't Say It, Don't Think It, which was written all over the drawer with the actual name underneath it. So that's why he knows to search for that. And the only thing that comes up is an article or a box of articles that was in a box of like the unpublished section. So it's not actually in a book. It was never released, but it's in this sort of weird section, and he's even given a glove to like handle it because it's there's no duplicates. You have to be careful. No hand sweat can touch them, so on and so forth. And basically, the gist of it is the character from the start of the movie in the flashbacks was a reporter who investigated why this teenager killed his entire family, and then when he was asked why, he said the Bye Bye Man made me do it. And the idea, of course, is that we've kind of established in this movie is that if you say it, if you know the name and you say it or you think about it, he will come for you. And if anyone else finds out about it, it'll spread to them and it'll come for them too. So the start of the movie, what he was doing, the reporter, is he was killing everyone who knew about him so that it wouldn't spread any further. So even though he seems like a psychopath, he's actually trying to stop anyone else from getting hurt by killing everyone who's heard about it. And the idea was, of course, is that he's not published this article. He's decided, no, I can't publish this because then more people will find out about it. And this is the end. So he investigated and it ended with the deaths. And we get more of that flashback later where we see, which I thought was weird. I don't think we need to see any more of the flashbacks. I thought the one at the start worked on its own. The rest of it that we see later was nowhere near as good. In fact, it was terrible. And it ruined the mystique of the moment, which is a shame. So, that's that.
Now,
but anyway, there's a point I was getting at that I really wanted to make. So he gets the documents out and he's reading the article that he wrote that wasn't published, and it's like, oh yeah, the investigative reporter was researching this kid who killed his entire family, and then he went crazy. As far as the public's concerned, he went crazy and killed a bunch of people. So you may tell me that in 1969, he went on a killing spree, killed, I think, like 6 people between the two houses, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And no one went to find what he was working on? No one went to this place, this library, and looked at his research material? No one tried to investigate why he did what he did, what he was up to for the week before he did this?
Yeah, no one thought like, hey, it's strange. The reporter who was investigating that murderer has also now murdered people. I wonder if there's a connection.
No one looked into this. No one else went into this thing and read it. Which, by the way, and it's around this point in the movie, it's when he's on his way back, I think, that he ends up going to see Kim. And we find out that she's already got to a point where she's doing the same thing as the reporter, and she's already killed her roommate because she told her roommate about it. And we get a scene where she's got this bloody hammer, and she's in the car with him, and she ends up, she hallucinates because the Bye Bye Man makes her hallucinate, and she sees a family in trouble. She runs out to help them, and it's on a train track, and the train hits her. And my problem with this is that she's gotten to this point much quicker than everyone else. But, okay, she's a medium apparently, so maybe it'd affect her quicker, or she'd understand it quicker. But then the librarian, the Elliot, she also reads the Bye Bye Man, so she gets infected. She's already killed her family by like a day later, even though that Elliot had already known about it for like 3 days by the time he ran into her. So the rules of how long it takes to interact with people, how long it takes to affect people, complete bullshit.
Yeah. Now, I hate the fact that, like, this seems like a movie, and we said it a bunch of times. Like we like rules. We, that's an interesting concept. And this seems like the movie that would be rife with rules, but there really aren't any.
Oh no, things just happen.
Yeah, like first of all, it's like to summon the Bye Bye Man, all you have to do is say his name. Like that's it. Like how many? I don't know if this is a point they're trying to make, but like so many people must have said that accidentally. Like not, like what if you have a stutter, or if you just say like Bye Bye Man, like so many people must have like accidentally.
I agree, and the sad thing is, I actually think there's, because at one point Kim compares it to cancer. You have to kill all the cells, and that's why you have to kill everyone who's like committed con. And I almost like that idea. This idea that it's unstoppable and will spread to everyone, and you have to kill everyone to stop it. I like that idea. You're right. Just saying it is far too easy. It has to be. Maybe you have to write it down. Maybe. Or something, I don't know, something
like
more.
Candyman thing, like you say it 3 times in a mirror or something.
Yeah, like say it multiple times.
Like that. But yeah, so yeah, first of all, there's that. And then the other thing I kind of kept thinking of is like, all right, does the Bye Bye Man not want people to say his name, or does he want people to say his name? Because you would think that he wants to be spread, but then at the same time, well, if you kill everyone that knows your name, there isn't really going to be much, many people to go around. I don't know. I wasn't really sure exactly like what his game plan was.
Yeah, it looks like shit as well. While we're on the subject.
Oh yeah, he was awful. He basically looked like Voldemort from Harry Potter.
Yeah, he always he was always lit really bright. It was weird.
Yeah,
I don't get
it. It looked like Voldemort with one of those dogs from the first Resident Evil game.
This is actually, it's after this train accident. This is when the cop played by Carrie-Anne Moss comes into the movie, and she like interrogates Elliot, and she's like, "Well, do you look the suspect because you were chasing her with a bloody hammer?" Which was hers, it was Kim's, but
yeah.
And he's like, "No, I can't tell you. Don't make me say it. I can't tell you." We get a really funny fake out scene. Not intentionally funny, might I add, where Elliot thinks he's figured it out. He thinks that if he gets over the fear, if you stop being scared of him, kind of like Freddy Krueger, that the Bye Bye Man can't get to you, he'll stop having his power. And it's when he's driving back to the house because he's worried about Sasha and John. He sees someone on the road, and he's like, "It's not real, it's not real." And he drives right through him, and he's like, "Haha!" And he turns around to look behind him for some reason, back at where the fake person was. And as soon as he did that, I was like, "Well, he's going to hit someone for real now," because he's looking.
Oh yeah.
He's like not looking at the road for like an extended period of time. It's actually ridiculous how long he's back to the front of the car. And sure enough, he kills the librarian who's got a knife and wanted to kill him.
Which, real quick, we didn't mention it, but I also did think it was hilarious that when he was back at the library researching that document, like you said, it was original, so you have to be very careful with it. And then he just starts like using a pen to cross out the Bye Bye Man's name. And the librarian like got mad at him, but not in a like, like, "What the hell are you doing, you idiot? Like, I'm gonna call security" kind of way. But she was like mad in a like, "Elliot, what are you doing?" like kind of way.
Yeah, she seems to know him on a first name basis. Maybe that wasn't established. Like it felt like they were strangers to each other, and then all of a sudden she knew him by his first name.
It's just so weird that it's like you're so careful that you're gonna make him put on gloves, but then when he starts crossing stuff out in pen, you're kind of just like a little tiffed at him.
Yeah.
And also, and then and going back to Carrie-Anne Moss, she's just a horrible. I like her as an actress, but she's a horrible like FBI agent or whatever in this movie. Like I feel like she let him go far too quickly.
She really did let him go. To almost
like I think she just says something like, like, "This is suspicious, but don't leave town."
To the point where one of the uniformed cops even was like, "Wait, you had him in custody earlier and you let him go?" When all the crap goes down at the end. He gets back to the thing, and obviously it tricks him. He stabs John to protect himself from him, but of course it was a hallucination and it was actually Sasha, and he breaks down.
Wait, I think we totally skipped over the part of him going to Faye Dunaway's
we did
house.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because it turns out that it was the reporter's like furniture, and they traced his wife's still alive, so he goes to the wife. It turns out to be Faye Dunaway, and
Oh, which they found out, I guess, from through the landlord, which I wanted to touch on real quick, which is just a weird
yeah, just a weird little
character.
scene. Yeah, because they did this thing where the landlord, like, he makes a comment just to make it very clear that he's gay for some reason, even though he has like 2 lines of dialogue. Other than that, like, we didn't really need to know his sexuality. It was weird.
Yeah, like she's like, "Oh, I just moved into this house," and he goes like, "Oh, with the very handsome boys," and then, like, and it's in like a garden shop named Mr.
Yeah.
Daisy,
And then he
which
has,
it's just so weird.
yeah, and he has 2 more lines. And you never see him again. It's like, why was his sexuality important to this scene?
Yeah, it was bizarre.
It was
But now
odd.
so there's 2 things I want to bring up about the scene with him at Faye Dunaway's house.
Is one of them the hallucination with the really, really horrible fire effects, where she just ignites on fire really quickly?
Well, that is horrible. That's not what I want to mention. There's 2 things here. So, they start talking, and she like says, "Oh, well, I think he asked like, why didn't it ever go after you?" And he explains, "Well, he never told me what it was. Like, he was protecting me. Blah blah blah." My question is, if you are married and your partner killed a bunch of people and told you it was because there's this thing that if you say its name, it'll come and get you, and he had to protect them, everyone, wouldn't you just think that they were crazy? Like, what was it that made her know that he was telling the truth? Like, you would just be like, "Oh, no, yeah, my husband went crazy and killed a bunch of people." She's like, "No, he was protecting me." Like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's just fair. I also, do I have a problem with actually in that scene? The way it starts, he comes up to the door and he lets himself in, and she's standing at the top of the stairs, and she doesn't even like you're intruding. What you know? There's no what you doing in my house.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, the house for some reason looks pretty run down. For some reason, I don't know why. It's just a thing, and it's when they're talking that we get the more flashbacks, and it completely drains all the mystery out of the opening scenes because it overly explains everything that happened around him. And then we see the bye man show up with his pet dog in broad daylight in a house with him, and it's just like, oh, you're draining any possible mystery or horror out of this.
Yeah.
Well, at the same time, not explaining a goddamn thing.
Now, the other thing that really annoyed me about the scene is this is when he gets like really super into like, "Oh, I figured it out," and he's like, "Yeah, if I'm not afraid, like I can confront him," and like, he feeds on fear, blah blah blah. But again, we've seen that he has not been able to do any research on the Bye Bye Man. He knows nothing about the Bye Bye Man, and yet he all of a sudden has this revelation. Like, how is it like that? There's nothing that there's no like, "Oh, wait a minute, like, if this then this then this." Like, no, he's just all of a sudden like, "I got it," and that was very frustrating.
Not to mention, Faye Dunaway's actually encouraging him to kill all his friends.
Oh yeah.
She's
Yeah,
like,
that too.
the only way to get rid of it is to kill yourself after you kill everyone else who knows. Because of course. Oh dear. And so yeah, he goes back, he has the hallucination, and he accidentally shoots Sasha. That breaks him up.
Yeah.
John, yeah, for some reason, so okay, his brother shows up because his brother's worried about him because he's not, meeting up with them, calling them back, and that kind of thing. There's been a kind of a subplot that he's very good. He's on very good terms with his brother and his niece, but throughout the movie, as the weird stuff's going on, he stops contacting them and he becomes distant. So at the end of the movie, they just show up at the house as everything's going down.
I was trying to figure out why the hell they would show up. I mean, I get that, maybe he thinks things are bad, he should stop by, but, one, why do it like so late at night? And 2, why bring your niece where, if things are serious, if you think he might have a might be depressed or have like a drug problem or something, if you're worried along those lines, don't bring your 5-year-old niece.
Yeah, so Elliot's on the inside of the house, he's at a door, and he's refusing to answer, and Virgil, his big brother's like shouting through, like, "What's going on? What is it?" And he's like, "I can't tell you." And this is the weird thing, it's at this point in the movie where they've not really established this, but I kind of just got it from the scene, that eventually once you've been affected by the Bye Bye Man so much, is that you actually start to want to say his name. Because he starts to go bye bye, and he like stops himself and he keeps doing it. And he's like, I won't affect you, I won't blah blah blah. And Virgil's like, let me in, I want to help you, blah, and so on. And he ends up shooting himself, basically.
Yeah.
And Virgil panics and whatever. And for some reason, for no reason at all, a fire starts inside the house.
Well, I think I know why.
Go
But
on.
earlier when they were fighting, if you look in the background, I don't know why this caught my eye, but like there's a knocked over lamp that's on their bed. I think it might start smoking, but it's such a stupid thing. It's like a 2-second shot. If you miss it, then it is like very much like, why is this happening?
Yeah,
and I don't think they ever actually show how it gets knocked over or whatever.
Nah, it felt like, from my perspective, all that happened was it just cut to a shot of a window and flames started going on up inside the house, and it was like, okay, I guess the house is on fire. At which point I started laughing, and I'll tell you why I started laughing. So after, like, earlier on, after the initial like stuff like went down, Elliot got pissed and he grabbed the table that had the Bye Bye Man written in it, and he stormed outside. And I thought, oh, he's going to burn it, because that's maybe the logical thing to do if you're in a horror movie and you know this thing's cursed. It may not work, because obviously things usually come back or whatever, but that would be the logical thing to try. Instead, he throws it at a tree and walks back inside. So when the house started like burning up and it was on fire, I was like, wait a minute, the one thing that has his name on it has been removed from the house. It is the only thing that's not going to burn down. This is stupid. And sure enough, after he kills himself and Virgil finds his daughter outside, because she went to go pee, she was bursting to pee.
This is like such an unnecessary, like, trying to be tense moment, him trying to find the daughter.
He finds her in the house, and
he finds her in the truck.
In the truck, sorry, yeah, in the truck. I just misspoke. And it's when they're driving home, the daughter's like, oh yeah, I peed next to this table. It's like, what table? It's like, there was nothing, it was just the coins and there was some writing in it. It's like, what writing? And that bothered me the way he said it, because it's like, why he has no reason to think there's writing that's bad.
Yeah, it's like he knows that. That was annoying.
Yeah, it's like he knows there's cursed writing that in play that could be a problem. And tense pause, and she goes, you know, I can't read in the dark, silly. I was like, oh, great fake out movie, thanks for that.
I tell you, what really made me laugh out loud was a little bit before that. Once the house catches on fire and he hears a gunshot on the other side of the door, and like his daughter's like, yeah, like, daddy, like, we gotta get in, we gotta save Uncle Elliot, we gotta get him. And then Virgil goes, it's okay, honey, the fire can't hurt him now.
It's worth mentioning as well that when Elliot shot himself, he couldn't see it. He doesn't actually have visual evidence that he's dead.
Yeah, he has no idea that he's dead. Like, he might have been having to shoot someone else, and he could still be inside. He might need saving. Otherwise, even if that's not the case, like, if he knew that he committed suicide or whatever, I still feel like it's kind of a messed up thing to tell your daughter.
Yep. And then we get a final scene. Carrie-Anne Moss shows back up. All the paramedics are around, the fire department and so on, and the police are all there. Which is when we get the scene where the cop's like, well, you'll let him go, and then this happened. And she's like, it's not just a Columbine thing, there's more to it. I could see it in this kid's eyes, there's more to this. And we find out that John somehow is still alive, and he's pulled out on a stretcher, and he's like half burned up, and he can barely speak. But he's trying to speak. So Carrie-Anne Moss is like, no, let him speak before you put him in the ambulance. And she leans over and she listens to him, because he's struggling. He's like, bye. And then it cuts to the credits, just as he's like about to say it. And hey, there could have been a post-credit scene, but as soon as that cut to black, I was standing up. I was bolting. I was making for the exit. I was desperate for this to end. I don't think the one thing we've not really sold here is how tedious the scenes are to watch. Like, the acting is so bad, and things don't scenes don't follow from scene to scene in a way that makes a whole lot of sense. Things just happen, like I said, and then because the acting's bad on top of that, and not even in a funny way, it's not even like I was laughing at how bad it was. It was just a really dull and painful bad. So it was boring, and it made 95 minutes or whatever it was feel like 4 hours.
Yeah. I was actually really tired when I saw this movie, so it was like really hard to stay awake. There were times when I would kind of
So it was a good thing that the basketballs and the skateboards were keeping you awake then.
to be fair, yeah, in this very very rare instance, but there were times where like I kind of you do that sleepy thing with you when you kind of close your eyes for like a little longer and then open it up. I would do that, and like when I would open my eyes, I couldn't tell if I had just like passed out for 15 minutes or 5 seconds.
Which is amusing because it happens to the characters in the movie where they'll lose time and it'll be like 3 hours later and it's like, oh crap, what happened?
But yeah, everything about this was awful.
Dreadful. Couple of nice shots in the opening scene, and then it just plummeted after the title card.
Yeah. I did notice, I didn't stay for all the credits. Like you, I was wanting to get out as soon as possible. I did see a little bit of them though, and I did notice it did say that this was based on a story.
I noticed that as I was leaving. Yeah, it said it was based on something. Yeah.
So I am kind of interested. Not that I will probably ever read it, but I do wonder if the story is actually good and if this is just a case of like just a horrible, adaptation. Hollywood studio messing with everything.
But why did these coins keep popping back up? Why was there constant like imageries and dreams and sounds of a train? Because they hear a train, we keep cutting to shots of a train, and I was like, is that what's bringing the Bye Bye Man here? He's on a train? Like,
I mean, why is he called the Bye Bye Man? Why does he have a dog? Why, like, where do these powers come from? Like you said at the beginning, is it a ghost? Is it a demon? What is it?
yeah, we don't know. We actually don't know.
So bad.
It gives us nothing. It gives us nothing to work with. It gives us characters who aren't really characters. There's nothing about them that's memorable in any way, shape, or form. They are cardboard, actual cardboard.
Yeah.
And even like, because John's black, and he makes a little race joke at one point that even like didn't make any sense because they're getting the dishes out.
Oh yeah.
The cups and the cutlery, and he's like, "Hey, these dishes are all white." I'm just saying, as if that was meant to be a joke, and I'm like, "The dishes."
Yeah, it didn't make any sense. It was like, again, it's like they started shooting and then they're like, oh crap, we should probably have like a joke here or
That's
something.
like,
I guess the reaction from like whoever's around you is supposed to be like, I see what you did there, but seriously, we're friends.
oh god, movie's so bad.
I gotta tell you, this doesn't make me happy for the way 2017 is looking.
I know. This is the first movie I've seen in the theaters. 2017. It's the first 2017 movie I've seen. I guess the only upside is that it can only get better.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, again at the top, was the one thing that maybe kind of helped it is that we had just watched It Watches, and
yeah, this at least looked like an actual movie.
yeah, it's like it's a slight step up, but such a slight, very small step.
Very, very slight. It had more than one location, so that's kind of a plus. There wasn't like aerial shots that made me nauseous because the motion blur was terrible. So there was things to praise, I guess, in that sense, in the most basic, minuscule of senses.
Yeah.
I will say this though. First movie of 2017, first horror movie of 2017, specifically for this show, and I'm starting at 1 out of 10.
A 1 out of 10?
1 out of 10. I can't give it any more than that. It's absolute garbage.
Oh.
It's absolute garbage. It's worse. There's only one, well, not counting It Watches, but from the stuff we did in our worst 10 of 2016, I think that only maybe number 1 of that is worse. I think this is worse than The Forest. This is worse than The Other Side of the Door. This is worse than those movies. This is absolute shite.
I'll agree with you that this is. I mean, for the two movies we watched this year so far, have both been horrible, and horrible in a way that seems like worse than the horrible movies we watched last year. Um, I'm gonna go a little higher, not by much, but there was like a very, very, very few things, to grasp on. Again, I did like that opening shot, and there's some stuff that I was like, oh, he has a dog, which I like, and manipulating people into those kind of fake out stuff was an okay idea, I guess. So with that little bit of a nudge, I'll give it a 2.
Okay.
So
I wanted a 2. That's what a great start to the year.
Not saying much, but
I got some really bad trailers. I got Annabelle 2 and Rings before the movie started, and I'm like, oh my god, we got more crap this year.
I didn't even really get horror trailers. I got a trailer for The Space Between Us.
I got a trailer for that as well, funnily enough.
Yeah.
And what was weird is that played like, I got the other trailers, and then there was like the usual thing that plays before the movie, and then that trailer played. It was really weird.
Oh, that's strange.
It was like they've linked it, like maybe it's the same studio, so they've like tagged it on to the start of the movie. It was like it was part of the movie's like file, if that makes sense.
Weird.
But whatever, yeah. Space Between Us. Hey, it looks better than this piece of shit.
Oh, that.
Do you know what's weird? I have now given 2 movies now, 2 episodes of Screams in 2017, and I've given both movies a 1 out of 10. Right? That is depressing. And do you know what's really weird?
What's that?
Is that the third movie, next week's movie, the movie that might save us, the movie that might save us from this streak of shit, who we are relying on to save us, of all people, is M. Night Shyamalan. Because next week we have Split.
I'm oddly holding out hope for it.
So honestly, the trailer's not bad. The trailer's not bad. I'm kind of oddly optimistic.
I had a friend who saw it at a festival, and he's by no means an M. Night Shyamalan apologist, but he had a lot of good things to say about it. So I'm I don't want to get my expectations too high, but at the very least,
do you still wake up in a cold sweat thinking about the rapping kid from The Visit?
Ugh. I was actually talking to someone over the weekend who enjoyed that movie, and yeah.
Like, some people do like that. I didn't hate it as much as you did.
It's just a lot of stuff I didn't like in it.
I didn't like it, but
yeah, I gotcha. But
it was okay. It was better than The Happening, which is the last one I has seen.
True.
So no, that's this episode of Screams, and that's the Bye Bye Man. We will be back next week with Split, so look forward to that. Hopefully that goes better. Remember that every week we do a Tales from the Crypt episode. We're working our way through. We're about halfway through season 2, and that goes up it's actually Mondays now. I always say the weekend, but it's really a Monday before it goes up usually. So you can expect that this coming week as well. I think that's everything I need to plug. So yeah, thanks for watching. Let us know what you thought of the Bye Bye Man if you were unfortunate enough to go see it. I was practically crying as I handed money over to the employee at the cinema. Oh, I was like, what can I get for you, sir? Bye Bye Man, I guess. Thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully these rambles have been entertaining. Let us know what you think. Like and subscribe, all that stuff. It helps us out a lot. Keep watching scary movies, hopefully better ones than this and last week's, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.